All right, welcome to the Rub Some Dirt On It podcast. I'm very excited today to welcome Joshua Ortegon. He is a strength coach. So we're going to be talking more on the strength coaching side of things today. He's a strength coach at Hammond School and then also is a fitness guru. So excited to hear what he's got to say about all things coaching youth and strength coaching. Josh, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So what started you on your coaching journey?
I think when I graduated high school and sports wasn't, I wasn't super talented. Played every sport, but I didn't have a desire to play college sports. I think I wanted to still be in that industry, right? Got out of athletics, did a year and a half of like journalism major. And then I needed that outlet, right, to work out. And then, totally got into fitness, totally got into working out, started wanting to work with athletes. First started working with athletes like 22, 23 years old, and it was just an extension of being an athlete, right?
Yeah.
So thought I was a lot smarter than I was at 23. I think we all. Right?
I think that's the standard 23-year-old.
Was that typical, right? I tell people it's the old Dunning-Kruger effect of, the more I learn, the less I realize I know. And was very fortunate to go to IMG.
Oh.
Yeah. So I went to IMG and then totally learned I didn't have any clue.
How did you get to IMG?
I applied.
Okay. They just had an opening for what?
It was an internship. And at the time I didn't know what IMG was like. It's just IMG.
Yeah.
And then people started talking about how big of an opportunity it was to be at IMG on the strength and conditioning side of it. And I got there and just a whole world exploded, right? Just the people I got to work with, very influential was a guy named Pete Bomarito. If you look up Pete Bomarito, he owns Bomarito Performance Systems, has all the pro guys now in Florida. He's well-spoken, national speaker. I got to work under guys like that. And that really opened my eyes to strength and conditioning, performance, youth development, not just the physical side, but the mental side of it, right? The long-term progression of what kind of things kids need to go through from 11 to 17, then 18 to 25. Like what does this process look like long-term?
Yeah.
How do you set a kid up to maximize his athletic potential, not just physically, but mentally? And, I left there just hungry to go, right? And moved here through a friend. Was going to go to grad school. I'm going to go to grad school for biomechanics.
Okay.
And then I had a friend of mine who's like, man, you don't want to do that? You're going to be in a lab all day. You're not going to work with people. You're going to be in a lab. And I was like, well, I have no desire to work in a lab. So I just axed grad school and started creating a clientele, and it just kind of grew. Very lucky, I think, in the timing of it. At that time, people started opening performance centers in big areas in the country. Training youth athletes and athlete-specific training was kind of new and hot. And I still have people that come to me all the time to graduate. It's like, what'd you do? I said, man, I think I got lucky, right? I think I hit Bitcoin in 2013, right? Like one of those things where it was just really popular and created a resume and relationships and a clientele. And I say it all the time, still surprisingly, those clients got results somehow. I'm still kind of shocked at some of the people we worked with and the results they got. Because, you look back now and you look at some of the things I did, and I was like, man, I wouldn't do it that way, right? And started a facility. Ended up starting a facility, Athletes Arena, that still has remnants today in the community. Sold it in 2015. Kind of got out of the industry for a while, and then got back into the team side. Did college environment for a little bit, and then now back at Hammond Schools and the team-wide side of it, which is really such a different reward than owning a facility.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's the age range of the students that you're working with now?
We work 6th grade on up.
Okay.
Yeah, 6th grade on up is from middle school on up.
Is that when you would recommend folks starting with their kids, or is like 9 too early?
No, so I tell people you got to dispel a lot of myths, right? Like the old myth of like, if they work out too early, they're gonna stunt their growth, and like you got to get that. You got to display a lot of push back a lot of myths when people talk about it. I tell people that your kid's ready to train when they can physically and mentally focus on a program and focus in the gym. Once you have a kid that can like mentally become coachable, I don't care what age that is, you can find age appropriate modalities for a kid to do. Like it's not going to be the same thing the 25-year-old's doing.
Right.
They're not going to load like the 25-year-old would, but you can find a gameplay type environment of fitness for any level of kid to do as long as they're coachable and can focus for that 20 to 30 minutes a couple days a week, right? And make it fun, right? So I don't really put an age on it for two reasons. Every kid focuses different at a certain age group, right? And every kid matures different, right? Every kid, we've all seen 13-year-olds that look like they're 17.
Right.
I've all seen 13-year-olds that look like they're 9, right? So if you really start to map training around growth and physical and mental development as opposed to just age, I think you can get a better result and make it, more importantly, I think you make it a better positive outcome for the kid. Like he enjoys it, right?
Is that why the game mobility philosophy on training comes into play?
That is the gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you gamify it, make it fun, make it games. Some of the best things I've seen people do is, obstacle courses for kids, time things on kids, gameplay type movements. Kids enjoy it. And you can work things like balance, coordination,
plyometrics,
jumping, landing, right? Somewhere along the line, we've vilified jumping and landing and springy, hoppy things on kids. But, I mean, what do you tell a kid that jumps in and out of trees when they're 6 or 7? Like, why can we do that and not do that in an organized environment? And kids don't get a lot of that anymore, right? Kids don't get a lot of free play, right? And, video games, culture. I mean, my kid goes outside to play sometimes, and I'm like, make sure I look at the Ring doorbell or where he's at. But I remember as a kid when we were kids,
free reign.
My mom threw me out in you come back bloody and your shirt torn off. Part of being a kid.
Go outside, come home when the street lights come on.
100%, right? Come out, the street lights come on. Culture's changed, right? Also, I think what's messed up a lot of kids is organized play. Organized play, I think, has messed up a lot of kids.
What do you mean by that?
Kids are getting involved in organized competition so early, where they have these structured practices, these structured, I guess, games, these structured tournaments, where 9-year-olds and 7, 8, and 9-year-olds are going and learning so much under structure. There's no creativity, right? I watched a documentary where Wayne Gretzky's dad talked about what made him so good. And he said, my kid spent so much time playing on the pond that he had such a creativity with the puck at his stick, but he had to create that creativity because he was always smaller than everybody.
Yeah.
So the moves and the things he did on the ice came from a play environment where he just had to survive to score, and that nobody structured taught that to him. He developed that, right, out of a gameplay environment. Kids don't have that much anymore. Right?
Yeah,
you got 9-year-olds that have swinging coaches, right? My dad told me to see the ball and hit the ball, right? You can't manufacture. I just don't think you can manufacture talent and potential like that.
But are we doing that in a way by putting the kids into, performance gyms like the ones you had?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, that's essentially what we're doing.
I think that's 100% a model. That's why I think the best coaches at the early ages create environments of playtime environment. The best coaches do. It's not 4 sets of 10, right? It's not do these lunges. It's here's a gameplay environment that lunges include, but you're doing it in a more open play environment for the young kids. Now, can you get structured at 12, 13, 14? Sure.
Yeah.
For short spurts, but we still need. There's a really good model I think people need to look up. It's called long-term athletic development. It's a long-term athletic development model. Was developed by a guy named Istvan Bali, and when I was in IMG, I didn't realize it at the time, but he spent a month there. And it's a Soviet model, right? I tell people sometimes the worst things that ever happened to youth sports was capitalism, and I say it as a joke, right? But he had this whole model that mapped training and play over physical stages of development. That's really a PE model. And it's an anti-sport specialization model. It's a long-term development model with the idea that we want to create people who are active for life. But some of the modalities within that can make kids and help them peak their athletic potential, right? He talks a lot about, training for fun versus training to compete versus training to win versus just training kids to train versus gameplay, and how that gets kids to work very good balance skills, proprioceptive skills, catching, throwing skills, things like that. That, the best athletes in the world can play multiple sports and can literally pick up anything at any time and probably be very good at it. Mm-hmm. One of the best athletes we have at our school, where your kids go, where I coach, I always say, if you gave that kid a tennis racket in 6 months, he's probably going to be the best tennis player. Right? It doesn't matter. Yeah. Right? That's what it takes. And if you want to be good at the higher levels, that's the kind of athleticism it takes. Right? But I do agree. I do think sometimes when we get kids involved in very proper training early on, if you don't have a great coach, you are over-coaching. 100%. That's why I think you need to be careful at that age. Listen, I've worked with professional athletes. It's the easiest job in the world.
Because they want to be there. They understand the grind.
High skill, high motivation, right? You program and you cheer them on, and you spend more time pumping the brakes than you do hitting the gas with those guys, right? You're trying to get them sometimes to do less, right? One of the best coaching experiences that I've ever had was watching a good friend of mine teach a 12-year-old unathletic girl how to front squat. And I'm like, that's an unbelievable coaching job, right? It's not the Division I football player that you taught how to front squat. That dude, right. You threw the bar, you showed him a video, gave him 3 cues, and all of a sudden you're training, right? It's that 12-year-old that has no clue. Those are the best coaches. Those are the best coaches, by far.
Do you like coaching the younger kids so you can actually see their development a little more? Or
yeah, I love the process of seeing. Some of the best experiences I've had in coaching was a parent that came to me with a 12-year-old and said, he's yours until he graduates.
Nice.
Right? I said, okay. I don't just have him for these 6-month clips.
Yeah.
Right? I can set benchmarks of things that I want to see from 12 to 15 to 18 and slowly work those benchmarks, knowing that, like, he might not be the strongest kid, but we're going to do things leading up to that where he's going to be the best kid. And you're patient. You understand that we're not trying to be an All-Americans at 8th grade, right?
Right.
I tell parents all the time, what do you want your kid to be great? Like, when they bring me a 12-year-old, I was like, do you want to go win that daddy ball tournament and your kid's the MVP and then he's
done, sucks
at 16? Like, what do you want?
I know many, many friends that peaked in 8th grade.
100%. Yeah. Hey, I'm 5'11". I'm heavier now, 5'11", 210 pounds. I was like 5'8", 5'9", like 160 in 8th grade. Dude, everything I did, I won because I just steamed through people. So I grew early. Yeah.
I grew late.
Did you? Okay.
So, like, I remember playing Pee Wee football, and I was able to play lightweights and heavyweights at the same time. So I played 2 games in one weekend, one day, because I was like 85 pounds, so I could still run the ball and play running back as the lightweight.
Okay.
But all my friends and everyone in my grade were in the heavyweights. Yeah. So I would stay and play in the second game.
Great. And you think that helps you, though?
Playing, I think smaller kids have an advantage if they're tough enough.
100%.
If you got to be tough.
Yeah.
But if you have that natural toughness, the sky's the limit. Because
that's so true.
If you're a big kid but you're weak, doesn't matter. If you're a big kid and tough, Now we're talking. If you're a little kid and athletic and tough, the sky's the limit for you, because you will eventually grow. You will eventually catch up. But now you're tougher. Now you have more experience of playing with bigger, older kids. Yeah. I was the one of the youngest of my cousins. I have a big family, external family. So I was the youngest boy for a while, and then another one came along. But I played with all the older cousins, and we played the game Kill the Carrier, where basically throw someone the ball and then they run around and you try to tackle them. And I was always great at that game because I was shifty. No one could catch me. I was running all over. Yeah. And they tackled me.
Hierarchy of needs.
They didn't care if I was the smallest one. They were going to tackle me just as hard as the bigger kids. And then you grow and you learn and you get tough.
Yeah. The long-term athletic development model, like the real model, a lot of people kind of screwed that model up along the way. But the real model that Esteban Bailey developed talks about that. Talks about those kids that grew late. Their peak height velocity was late. Right? Kids can hit their growth. I mean, boys can grow pretty late in their 20s sometimes.
Yeah, my brother didn't until he was in college when he really took to the next level.
And you see a lot of kids who have a whole lot of success early because they were the bigger kids, but they don't develop grit because nothing was hard.
Right.
Right. So they always think they're just going to go figure it out and do it. Right. Man, you can go a long way. Athletic director at Hammond says this. He goes, he says, and he's been involved in sports. He says, how do you phrase it? He said, I can do a lot with a kid that's tough and knows where to go. If you're tough and know what to do, you can go a long way. And I've said some controversial things around. I said, if I get a kid that's tough and strong, he's going to go a lot farther than, how do I say it? Being tough and being strong is going to get a kid a lot farther than the math class in life. I'm not talking about sports, but in life. If you build a kid that has grit, right? If you have that little kid that plays youth sports and he's always the smallest, but he has no quit, tons of grit, he's eventually going to grow. And now you got a kid that has grit. Now you have a kid that's tough. That's not just sports, right? That's everything in life.
That is.
Right? And, man,
it's one of the things I focus on with my boys.
Being tough.
Toughness.
Yes.
And it comes across harsh sometimes. And I know I coach Hollis harder than I coach the other kids on the team. I know Everett, I need to find ways to make him tougher because that is going to result in a much more successful life.
100%. That's the lessons they're going to learn through sport. They only learn it in sports, though.
That's right.
Right. I really think they really only learn that in sports.
The Rub Some Dirt On It podcast it's about toughness. Yeah. It's about just do it. Just be tough. Shake it off. It's not that bad. Keep going, and it'll all work out.
Yeah, there's a phrase that I've heard about teaching your kids to do dangerous things safely. Climbing on monkey bars, right? Doing things that falls down, gets hurt, right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen to kids. And yeah, I do. I want my kid to be tough growing up, but I want to be able to guide guide it and keep it within some parameters.
Yeah, because you can't have a bully.
Right?
Yeah, no. You don't want a bully. That's not toughness.
No. And that's cowardly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to have kids that are compassionate for others, encouraging for others. Like I was thinking about this today, actually. One of the greatest moments I've ever felt as a coach was Everett hit a home run, his first home run, and Hollis was the first one out of the dugout, cheering him on.
Yeah.
He was just as excited about it.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh.
Yeah, that's
father
an aha
win,
moment.
coaching win, and it's the best.
Yeah. I think you only learn that in kids with sports to be tougher, right? And there's a like the word and the word of teach your kids to do dangerous things safely. There's a you gotta keep that boundary.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm not gonna let my kid. Don't play with a bone sticking out. Right. You know what I'm saying?
And there's also Elaine says this all the time. She's like, you wouldn't give him a power tool if he doesn't know how to use it. I'm like, yeah, but I would teach him how to use it.
100%. Yeah.
So you're not going to let him drive your car, but eventually I'm going to teach him how to drive a car. So doing things safely, doing things dangerously, doing it safely, eventually he's going to get a pocket knife and he's going to have to learn how to open it up and close it and not cut his finger, right?
Yeah.
It's just, and if he does, it's the way of life. I cut my finger. You put a Band-Aid on it, you keep going.
You keep going.
And it's just, there's so much, connection between parenting and coaching. And I find that when I'm coaching, a lot of the parents are very welcoming to the structure and discipline that I like to bring, because I'm not here to babysit your kid. I'm here to help them have fun, learn the game, but I'm not chasing them all around, or I'm not ignoring them so it's just chaotic, right? You got to bring it in together. And a lot of parents can't coach their own kids because they aren't able to. They just want to say, hey, you take them. I need a break.
Yeah. It's very important for me that my kid learns to be coached by somebody other than me. I think because I've done this for so long, I've seen the negatives and the positives. Right? I sarcastically said early on when people were like, well, is your kid going to do this and this and this because you do this and this and this? I'm like, God, I hope not. Like, I hope it's not just because I do it. Like, or I want to do what he wants to do. If he learned to play the piano, how do we just as encouraged then not do that, right? And in fact, it probably might save me some time of having to.
My philosophy is whatever you want to do.
Yeah, wherever your passion is.
Do it to the best of your absolute ability.
Yeah, wherever your passion is, right? So, people assume because of what I did for a living that my kid's going to do certain things. And I'm like, God, hope not. Hope that's not why he does it.
If he does it, great. If
it's
not,
great. I just seen so many parents live their life through their kid, right? And instill the things that they feel like they missed out on their kid, and they completely ruin the relationship with the kid. Sports becomes not fun, right? I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but 70% of kids quit sports by 13. And one of the main factors when you look at that research is parent pressure. One of them is around the age of 13 is when people start having cuts. So, Darwinism kicks in a little bit at some point.
Right.
Some kids just aren't good enough, right? Which is, conversation you sometimes have to have with parents. The kid's not good enough. Doesn't mean he's worthless. Right. Just means he's not there yet to make a team. Keep going. Keep going, right? But I think we have to figure out what's going on with the youth model, because the youth model isn't working here. It's not, right? So that's hard.
What would you describe the youth model, and then why isn't it working?
Well, I think the youth model we currently have is all about early competition and winning at a very early. I say that to let people know. I'm not saying winning isn't. I think we always keep score. I'm always concerned people like, what do you don't keep score? I'm like, well, life keeps score, right? I mean,
trust me, the 4 and 5 year old soccer players, when we not keeping score,
my kid knows the score, bro.
They know exactly what the score is, and they're always like, "What's the score? Are we winning?"
Yes.
What's the score? Are we winning? Yeah. Don't worry about that. Just keep playing.
Yeah.
I'll let you know at the end.
I'll let you know. The scoreboard. Right. But the American sports model is way more focused on competition and tournaments and playing than it is developing. And we see examples of that when you go look at European models and South American models in sports like soccer and tennis, and other European sports that are played across the country. There's a reason why coaches in the United States have to go to foreign countries to pull kids in to play to fill rosters. They're better. They're more developed. There's less burnout. The skills development. They usually have better coaches. And our model is based on a financial model. Get as many kids as you can to play in as many tournaments as you can to spend as much money as you can on $1 billion industry of youth sports. Right? And are there kids that their talent is so high? Listen, high-level kids that I've ever worked with, we're going to do it whether they're with me or not. I really do believe that. Like most kids in the United States and most kids that I've seen, their talent has compensated for their lack of development. They're just so skilled. The skill level's so high. And we know it if you've been in sports. You know it when you see it. It takes me 15 minutes to be like, this kid's different. Let's just not screw them up. Don't screw up the toys. I had somebody tell me that one time. Don't break the toys, right? I've had kids where I'm like, oh, what did you do with him? I said, I just made sure he didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Because he's a dude.
I'm very fortunate. I've never broken a bone.
Really?
Dislocated my shoulder 4 times,
Yeah.
but never broken a bone.
Really?
Yeah. And that's really just one of the things I'm so proud of so far. My kids haven't broken a bone.
Yeah.
Like we've been out of the emergency room.
Yeah.
But that kind of just, like you said, play. Just go out, play, have fun. There's a level of developing your hand-eye coordination. What are some of the techniques or things that people can do to help with that? Because even you take a naturally gifted kid, you can still apply the same type of exercises, techniques, and that naturally gifted kid gets even better. And then the kid that is like, could be good, starts focusing on some hand-eye coordination things. They then become much more, they've been given a chance now that they could be elite because they've developed. Hand-eye coordination is so important. Doesn't matter what sport you're playing, it's the key. If you have a natural gift of it, you're ahead of the game. But it's something that can be developed.
Right? Yeah. Some kids can see the ball and hit it. They can grab the racket and hit it. They can grab a ball and throw it. Right. Some kids just things are easy for them. Right. That's talent. Right. The most important thing I think we can do to develop a kid from coordination, hand-eye coordination, is make sure your kid is doing multiple sports for as long as humanly possible. Multiple sports. Have your kid pick up a tennis racket. Have your kid pick up a golf club. You ever put a golf club in someone's hand who's like supposed to be the best athlete in school?
Yeah.
No clue, bro.
That's right.
Because they've been overcoached these movement patterns. They've never developed true movement patterns and ways to move. And they don't know how to use their body because they've been overcoached all the time. Overcoached. As many sports as you can have your kids stay in for the longest time, you're going to develop all these multiple skills that include hand-eye coordination. Now, they might excel at some other sport, right? That could be because they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, they're taller, right? They just have the skill set that fit more to that specific sport. But, people get so obsessed with the college scholarship. And I hear that at such a young age, and I'm just like, man, I guess I've heard it so many times, right? I have a little bit apathetic to it, right? Early on in my career, I was like, man, that's stupid. Now I'm just like, sweet, right? They get so obsessed with that college sport, and they're like, well, my kid needs to do baseball year-round because there's no way he's not going to get that ride. And I'm like, I've seen so many kids get looks in the college level for a sport by coaches that watch them play other sports. And they go, oh, he's an athlete. We can figure it out.
Well, there's so many times where the football season's over and those coaches can't come see that kid until it's basketball season.
And they come
they're watching him play basketball.
We have a kid right now. That I tell people, all the football coaches love him. And I thought he was a great kid, and I thought he was good. I was a little late to the game until I watched him play basketball, and I went, this guy's not even a skill set. It's a mentality. I was like, this dude steps on people's throats. He's a killer, right? And I was like, I told the coaches a couple weeks ago, I said, I'm all in on this kid. I totally see it now. I'm late to the game, and it has nothing to do with the tackles in football. It has everything to do with the killer instincts I saw in a kid, and I went, oh, he's made different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point because you watch as you just any sport, any kids, the ones that are aggressive are a head and shoulders above, and then you see the ones that aren't aggressive,
they're behind. The game. Yeah.
Just like hand-eye coordination, how would you go about helping kids become more aggressive?
You got to put
Is
them
it just straight confidence, or what is it?
So I never use the word confidence. I tell people all the time. This comes from a friend of mine, Jeremy Boone, who works in helping create sports cultures. He was recently on ESPN. Who's the quarterback from Notre Dame? Kid was at Duke.
Riley Leonard.
Yes. So he's Riley Leonard's personal mental coach.
Oh.
Right. And he's a good friend of mine. And he's recently on ESPN. And I've gone through a lot of his courses. He's a great friend. He didn't reply to my text yesterday, so I hope he sees this podcast. But he said never use the word confidence with kids. Take that out of your language. Confidence doesn't exist. Confidence is only there when the outcome is guaranteed. The more guaranteed the outcome, like if we play a team we beat by 50 last week, we play them again next week, you're going to have a higher level of confidence. You're not going to have that confidence of a team that beat you by 3 or beat you by 50 or you only beat by 1, right? Mm-hmm. So quit using the word confidence. We use the word courage. Courage over confidence. We create environments where kids go show courage. The more courage they show, the more they're going to believe in themselves. The more opportunity that they show courage and go into situations where the outcome isn't guaranteed, right? The more likely they are to build themselves up to be able to handle high pressure situations. So I tell kids all the time, take confidence out of I hear people talk about that word all the time. But when you're talking to kids, they don't know what that means. How many times, got to be confident. What's that mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean be confident? That kid's 6 foot and he's 13, right? You want me to be confident running the ball against that kid? Like I'm not, right? But you have the courage to step in there and try and go do it. The more opportunities kids show courage and overcome on the other side, and even when they fail, they keep going. Even when they fail, they keep going. Jeremy knew the Curry family, the Steph Curry family. And right when that kid blew up and was at Davidson dropping 60 in a game. You remember when he went through that tournament and he's like, who's this little kid that looks like he's 12, dropping 60 and shooting from you can't even give him a breath. The ball's up and it's in, shooting 60. And then he went and he became Steph Curry that everybody knows now. Jeremy knew him when he was really little. And I said, at what point did you realize that kid was going to be what he was going to be? He goes, 12. I'm like, bull crap, bro. I'm like, that's Hollywood. You're Hollywood me. He's like, no. The kid never quit. He didn't make an AAU team after AAU team, was the smallest kid, but the parents put him in places that he could keep doing it and trying and keep doing it and fail and keep coming back and figure it out and keep coming back and figure it out. If you need to build confidence in a kid, change the word to courage, put him in places where the outcomes aren't guaranteed and have him compete. And then he gets tougher and then gets a little tougher and gets a little tougher. Listen, I tell people, I have a pit bull, 2 pit bulls, and I love them. But I said, one pit bull gets on my nerves. He's not tough, but he acts like he is. The other pit bull, when we lived in Georgia, killed a raccoon and got the face scarred up pretty bad. And I go, I'm more scared of the one that's got the scars on the face, right? Yeah. Because that one's been through it, right? I want kids to go through, and we will intentionally put kids into environments that it's hard for them. It's tough, right? It's hard because too many parents want to put the easy life on their kid. Right? And a lot of those are parents who struggled, then they became successful, and they say, oh, I don't want my kid to have to go through what I went through.
Right. Well, give them a better life.
I want a better life. I want an easier life. And I'm like, well, that toughness is what made you who you are. Now you're stealing your kid from that opportunity, right? And your kid's not going to be what you were because you never went through the struggle that you went. You want everything easy for them. Right. It also, when you see kids that go through tough things as a kid, growing up, the parents go, oh, he's been through enough tough things. Right. I need it easier for him or her. And I'm like, well, no, that's just part of life that he went through that. One of the greatest kids I ever coached was Reese Holbrook, Coach Holbrook's kid. Kid had leukemia or cancer when he was 2 years old. Right. Reese Holbrook Foundation.
Yeah.
Had cancer, had issues with his eyesight. They're told he's never going to develop. He's never going to be able to track a baseball, never going to be able to do anything. And I had parents all the time say, man, where's that work ethic come with that kid? I said, what? I said, that kid's got a second chance at life. He's been told he's never been going to be able to do something. And they're like, oh, he overtrains. He does this too hard. I said, yeah, if you take that away from him, he ceases to become who he is. Right? I'm like, so... And Chad was a coach and an athlete, phenomenal athlete, understood that and still let the kid go through all the struggle he needed to and never was like, oh, well, he had a tough life. Let's make it easy for him. Right? But that's what made the kid who he is. Right?
Back to aggression, though. Can you develop the
skill
you can
develop aggression.
How?
Some of it's personality based. A lot of it is environment based. But I think when you put kids in environments that they have to stand up or quit, you're either going to stand up or quit, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I think helped my child, and again, this is going to be completely biased, right? I'm going to admit my bias here. One of the best things we did with my kid was he asked to do jiu-jitsu when he was 5. And I have a lifelong history of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I never wanted my kid to be forced to do it. Well, one day we're looking at pictures and he sees me at jiu-jitsu and I was in a gi and he's like, "Were you a ninja?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I want to be a ninja." That's why I went to jiu-jitsu. He goes, "I want to go to jiu-jitsu and be a ninja." So from 5 to 7, he did Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I mean, watching him get beat up and still want to go, and then get beat up, still want to go, and then start winning, and then start pushing past that, it built grit, it built aggression, right? It built toughness in him, right? He made a comment, first year playing flag football. He made a comment to me. He goes, "Dad, I found when I run around people, they can grab my flag. But if I run straight through them, they don't have the time to grab the flag."
That's right.
And I went, "Oh, buddy, okay." Like I try not to,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, that's a natural aggression that he figured out. If I run around them, they can grab the flag from the side. But if I just run straight through them, they don't grab my flag because they're more worried about getting run over."
Run over, yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, I don't know the rules, buddy." Right? Like I'm still trying to figure out when you can throw the ball and pass the ball in that sport, in little flag football. But that was an aggression thing I think he learned through jiu-jitsu, right? But I think you can teach aggression as long as the aggression is within their personality, right? Some kids just aren't like that. And that is okay.
Yeah.
You have to let parents know that is okay. I know so many parents where the dad was a dog growing up, and they say, like, "Well, my kid doesn't have that killer instinct. He's like his mom," right? You hear people saying, "It's like his mom," right? Well, one, that's environment. And 2, that's just not your child.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But you can still create other environments, whether it's academic or other environments, that he has to choose courage over confidence, that develops grit, and that'll go on in life, which will be way more important than sports.
Talk about a little bit about training boys and girls, because you do both of them at school.
Yeah.
What
Girls
do you
learn
look
faster.
for? Okay.
Girls are more graceful early. Girls don't try to muscle through things. They learn technique faster and cleaner, and they're more athletic early. But as far as the modalities you use, they don't change. There's nothing I would do different with a young female than a young boy in the weight room or from a development standpoint. Not one thing. They all need to get stronger. They all need to get stronger, first off, not just because they could perform better, but they can be more resilient to injury better, right? Strong things don't break, right? They still need to do it to build, some belief in themselves in the weight room. Man, you have a girl or a guy that gets a little bit stronger in the weight room, you'll watch them play a sport different. They're like, "Oh, I did all the work. I'm stronger than these people. They can't stop me. I'm going to go for a layup and go straight through their chest, or I'm not going to run around them. I'm going to run through them." I tell people the most brutal sport in the world that nobody realizes is female soccer, girl soccer. One of the most brutal sports I've seen is competitive girl soccer.
Yeah.
Brutal, hair pulling, chucking, hip bumping.
You definitely see those viral videos of girls fighting in sports on soccer fields.
It's
more
soccer.
than
It's always
anywhere
soccer,
else.
right? It's always soccer. You get a girl that realizes, like, "I spent 6 months in the weight room. I'm stronger than her. It's a 50-50 ball. I'm going to run straight through her," right? So from a training perspective, I don't think there's anything you do different with a girl than a guy,
Yeah.
right? Some of that stuff you hear is mostly marketing. Someone's trying to market more towards females or something, and they're going to say, "Oh, it's got to be all different for girls." I don't think it really does.
Cool.
No.
So I finish off. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
I really appreciate you being here. I finish off every podcast with a sports trivia question.
Sure.
So it's going to be random.
Okay.
But I'll give you a multiple choice to help you
Okay.
out. How many football players have won the national championship, the Heisman, and the Super Bowl? Is it A, 3, B, 5, or C, 7.
I have a hard time thinking it's 7. Wait, what were they?
357.
National
championship.
Okay.
Heisman Trophy, and a Super Bowl victory.
Do you know who they are? So if I get it wrong, would you be able to tell me?
No, I don't. I just
You
know
don't?
the number, and I know the most recent one because he just did it on Sunday.
Okay. So that's probably Saquon.
No,
No?
he didn't win the Heisman.
Did they win the national championship at Penn State? They probably didn't, did they?
No.
No.
Penn State's in that Notre Dame cycle of we
Oh,
used to be
being
good
great, but
and
not.
almost so close.
Yeah.
I love Notre Dame, but it's
Yeah. Yeah, this was the worst. I'm a Michigan fan, so this was the worst national championship in history I've ever seen on. People are like, who are you going to root for? It's like, I don't know. Can both teams go going to be 0-0 and nobody watches it? I'm going to say 3.
5.
5.
Yeah.
Do you know someone?
Smith from the Eagles.
Okay.
He won
Yep.
the Heisman. He won a national championship at Alabama.
Alabama. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the 5th one.
He was the 5th
I wonder
one.
what the other 4 were.
So, not sure. It's a good question.
Charles Woodson? Michigan? Did they win it when he was at Michigan?
Did he win a national
Did he
championship?
win a national championship at Michigan?
I don't think so. I think they were on a long drought until the last
Was it?
national championship.
I can't remember. As a Michigan fan, I don't remember that. But I think what he won one was he with the Packers maybe when they won. They've been close. That's an interesting. Now I want to know
So-
what the other 4 were.
Did Michigan win with Desmond Howard?
Might have been.
Did they win the national
but they won
championship
with Desmond Howard. I think it
in
was
Desmond Howard?
And he won.
So he might have been one.
Who did he win the Super Bowl with?
Packers.
Packers.
He was their kick returner.
That's right. Might have been Desmond. Now, see, now I'm going to have to go find out who the other ones were. You know, it's somebody in like 1960, right? Somebody we don't.
Paul Horning.
Yeah, it's like Paul Horn. Okay, they're like
Which
17.
might actually be him because
Yeah.
he probably won the Super Bowl with the Packers.
Yeah.
He won the national championship with Notre Dame and
the Heisman.
And the Heisman.
See, that's good. That's good trivia. Yeah, I like it. Well, I appreciate being on here, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. Yeah, yeah.
I'll have to do it again.
I love that you do the other podcasts here.
Yeah, we do all kinds of podcasts.
Yeah, and other people shoot here, man. That's awesome.
We
Maybe if our podcast grows, we can.
well, I'd love to have you on
Yeah.
our As Told by You podcast.
Okay.
And we can talk about your second business
Okay. Yeah.
and how that got developed and
Yeah.
what you do with that and
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. You know that when I got out of the industry, I started a Facebook page for my own fitness, for my own accountability, and started posting stuff on the Facebook group. And that grew organically from there. It was really done for my own accountability, for my own fitness and wellness. And all of a sudden, other people started coming in, started coming on, then we started helping other people.
So what's the name of your podcast?
It's called With All Due Respect,
Okay.
right? Mostly because I wanted to be very brutally, truthfully honest, right? Not gonna especially when it comes around fitness and health and mental health and personal growth. I think we're too soft.
Do you provide like a full-on fitness program? And
Yeah, we have nutrition coaches,
nutrition
wellness
stuff?
coaches, wellness coaches, all of that for all kinds of people. We have a friend of mine's a PA that uses people that maybe have some medical issues. We don't deal with them, so we pass them on to him, and he helps them, right? Because I mean, we have a sick culture. We don't need to. You don't need to,
Make
go
America
to Disneyland.
healthy again.
Yeah. You don't need to go to Disneyland to realize, you just go up here to the mall and
Right.
realize like we have a sick culture.
Yeah.
Right, that people need answers and help,
And guidance.
and
Encouragement.
and it starts young. And I tell people all the time to merge that in youth sports. Sometimes a kid's first, the importance of having kids have a positive experience in youth sports is that for most kids that's their first entry into fitness and wellness and exercise, and nothing will turn off a kid from exercise and health and wellness than a negative sports or exercise environment. They just won't do it, right? They quit, right? Nothing makes a kid quit more than injury, right? So if we can have more kids have positive sports and fitness experiences young, the more likely they're going to carry those experiences to adulthood and have healthier people, right? That's where I think the two merge.
Yeah. And that's a great message to carry on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks, Josh.
Yeah,
I
thank you,
appreciate
guys.
it. Thank you for watching the Rub Some Dirt on It podcast. I'm very grateful for Joshua Ortegon to be here with us today, and we'll see you next time.